He forgot our anniversary, then chuckled. "It's not like we're bound by vows." He added, "I've still got choices." I just said, "Understood." That evening, I gathered my belongings, removed my name from the rental agreement, and reversed every payment I'd made. By dawn, his mother had called me 32 times, her voice sharp with accusations. "We're not bound by vows," I reminded myself. He'd said it with a smirk, like it was a badge of honor. "I've still got choices." I'd only asked if he recalled what day it was. There was a silence, the kind where you hope they'll dig up the right answer. But no. He leaned back, earphones dangling, and tossed out that line like it was witty. Like I should feel grateful for his fleeting attention. I said, "Noted." Then I turned and walked to the bedroom. No scene, no shouting. I packed my suitcase, taking only what I'd paid for myself, most of it as it turned out. I left the outfits he'd liked on me. Left the notes I'd written, tucked into his drawers or stuck to his monitor before his big interviews. Not that he ever showed up to those interviews. He hadn't worked in 2 years. A few rejections and he just stopped. I took extra shifts, paid the rent, covered the bills. But here's the truth. I became his safety net while he sank deeper into that couch, lost in his screens, convincing himself effort was unnecessary. What hurts most? I genuinely tried to be gentle. I avoided things he disliked, laughed at his flat jokes, stopped meeting my friends because he called them trouble. I shaved off pieces of myself to make his life smoother. I thought love meant waiting for someone to get their life together. But my waiting just became his reason to coast. That night, I removed my name from the lease, canceled the Wi-Fi, the streaming services, switched the utilities to his name, a surprise for when the bills arrived. I emptied the savings I'd built, mostly mine anyway. I left the keys on the counter beside a small cake from that fancy bakery he once loved. Then I drove to my parents' house, 2 hours away, far enough to feel like a new world. By morning, 32 missed calls from his mother. Her voicemails began with fake worry. "Are you all right? What's going on?" Then they spiraled. "You're cruel. You're ruining him." I skipped the last ones. One was just her yelling. My mom brewed coffee like it was any other day. My dad asked if I wanted to talk. Then, slowly, they started nudging. "Maybe you should reach out to him. Maybe this was too drastic. Maybe you gave up too soon." They didn't know I'd been paying the rent for nearly 2 years, that I covered his phone, that he'd buy games instead of food, that he forgot my birthday last year and I let it go, that I'd been quietly crumbling for months. Now they thought I'd overreacted, but I wasn't just leaving him. That would have been too simple. Something shifted inside me that night, something sharp and clear. I realized I'd poured everything into someone who saw me as disposable, so I was taking back what was mine. Not just the money or the freedom, my identity, my calm, and maybe a touch of vengeance. Not the loud kind, the kind that hits silently, leaving an empty shell behind. And this was just the start. The calls kept coming. His mother left messages like she was scripting a drama. "He's not eating. He's glued to the couch. He's devastated." You don't just abandon someone you love, right? Because a devastated person definitely spends the next day gaming for 12 hours and sharing dodged a bullet memes online. I didn't respond. Not to her. Not to him. I silenced my phone and focused on breathing. My childhood room felt like a trap, but it was quiet. Until my mom knocked, holding toast like it could fix 3 years of exhaustion. She said maybe I'd acted too hastily, that maybe he was struggling in ways I didn't see. My dad added his usual, "Relationships take weathering tough times." I wanted to scream. I'd been in a storm for years while they sipped tea in the calm. By day 3, I realized they weren't just comforting me. They were pushing me to return. My mom even called his mom to hear her side. They agreed we should talk it out. Like this was a standard breakup and I just needed better communication. I felt like I was losing my mind. Then his text came, 3 words. "You wrecked everything." No sorry, no self-awareness. Just blame, God. I didn't reply, I didn't need to. A plan was forming, quiet and sharp. Not movie-style revenge, nothing cruel or illegal, just precise, calculated moves. I knew his habits, his weak spots, the cracks in his overconfident facade, and I'd use them all. But first, I needed distance. Real distance. I started applying for jobs out of state. Sent resumes to cities where no one knew me, where his mother's voice wouldn't haunt my inbox. I found a marketing job in Colorado with housing support, Applied that night. Told no one. Meanwhile, my parents planned a family dinner with his family to clear the air. My mom said 3 times it was just for talking. She used her fancy placemats, the ones with tiny stitched flowers she saved for special occasions. My dad grilled chicken in freezing weather as if overcooked meat could mend a broken bond. I didn't argue. I watched their performance like a stranger at a play. They arrived early. His mom swept in like a politician, smile plastered on. His dad nodded and grabbed a beer. And there he was, in a shirt he hadn't worn since a distant wedding, looking like he'd finally seen himself in a mirror. He tried to hug me. I said I had a migraine, not a lie. The dinner talk was agony. His mom kept saying, "You don't throw away 3 years." And "Men need time to mature." My mom added, "No one's flawless. And you two always seemed solid." My dad stayed quiet, but when our eyes met, he looked away like I was the one at fault. He sat there silent, like a brooding artist waiting for his moment. It came over dessert, after my mom served a pie no one wanted. "I still love you," he said, measured. "I messed up, but I'm trying now. I've applied for jobs. I updated my resume, I need you." And that was it. Everyone turned to me, waiting for me to cave, to forgive, to slip back into my role as the forgiving girlfriend who lets things slide. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, sat on the tub's edge. That's when it hit me. They didn't want my happiness. They wanted me to be easy to manage. They wanted the story to fit their script. Girl sacrifices, boy improves, everyone cheers. They didn't know what it was like. The slow grind of giving everything to someone who gave nothing back. Of feeling like love meant losing yourself bit by bit. They saw a breakup. I saw an escape from suffocation. I splashed water on my face, returned, smiled, nodded, said I'd consider it. Just enough to survive the night. But something shifted. That night I got an email. Colorado. Interview set for Thursday. It was real. The next day, I sold what little I owned that had value. Old bags, used gadgets, even a necklace he'd given me during one of his rare employed months. I told my parents I needed space. Started spending days at libraries, cafes, anywhere but home. His texts resumed. Sweet, then annoyed, then accusing. He asked if I'd seen the new chair he bought. Said he was turning things around. That his temp job was proof. Like a $15 an hour gig erased 3 years of neglect. I didn't respond, because I wasn't just leaving him. I was leaving them all. The Colorado interview wasn't just a job. It was a lifeline. I told my parents I was visiting a college friend. My mom seemed skeptical but didn't push. Maybe she was just glad I was smiling. I packed light, 1 bag, dressed like I belonged somewhere new, somewhere alive. I drove 3 hours to the airport in my dad's car, windows down, air sharp and clean. No one called. No one stopped me. The company flew me out. A full-day interview. Fresh office scent, glass walls, thriving plants. They offered water in a proper glass. The team was smart, driven, kind. They didn't care about resume gaps or my relationship status. They asked what I'd built, how I solved problems, what I saw in disorder. I gave answers I hadn't heard myself say in years. That night in the hotel, I lay in the dark, phone silent. A strange ache settled in my chest. Not grief, just space. Like a weight had lifted, and I didn't know what to do with the freedom. By the time I landed home, the offer was in my inbox. $71,000 a year, signing bonus, relocation package. I stood in the airport, rereading the contract, afraid it might vanish. No one had ever offered me something without demanding I shrink first. I didn't go home. I drove to a diner, ordered pancakes, and made a list on a napkin. Cancel things, transfer things, dismantle carefully. I found a 1-bedroom in Colorado Springs overlooking a quiet street. Simple but clean, near the office. I signed the lease that night, used the bonus for the deposit, booked movers for the next week, telling them I had little, just boxes, a suitcase, and my grandmother's quilt from when I left for college. The next days were quiet but deliberate. I deleted our shared accounts, canceled the music streaming, closed the shared shopping account, logged him out of every password I'd saved. I opened a new bank account, got new cards, changed my number, updated my contacts one by one. Nothing would follow me. I told my parents last over dinner. My mom was mid-sentence about something online when I said, "I'm moving to Colorado. I start next month." They froze. My dad set down his fork. My mom blinked like I'd spoken a foreign tongue. I told them about the job, the apartment, the date. I didn't ask for permission. I didn't invite debate. My mom said, "You weren't going to tell us." I said, "I just did." That night, I heard her on the phone with his mother. I caught fragments, how I was leaving, how it was sudden, how they should reach out. I put my phone on airplane mode. But he showed up anyway, 2 nights before I left. Pulled up in a friend's car, strode up the driveway like nothing had changed. I didn't open the door. He texted, "You're just leaving, after all we had." All we had. He meant the 3 years I spent pleading for effort. The forgotten birthdays, the rent I paid without thanks, the dinners cooked, cleaned, ignored. The nights I cried silently beside him as he slept. He meant all I gave while he drifted. I didn't reply. When the movers came, I was ready. No note, no goodbye text, no explanation. Just a suitcase, a box, a quilt. I drove to the airport with a calm I hadn't felt in years. As the plane lifted off, I looked out and thought, no trace left. Colorado was quiet, letting me hear myself for the first time in years. The apartment was smaller than advertised, with a stained carpet near the window, but it was mine. I slept on a mattress on the floor for 2 weeks, ate microwave dinners, watched the mountains glow through half-open blinds. It felt like breathing after years underwater. The job was better than expected. My manager respected boundaries. My team worked hard, left at 5. No one pried into my life. I started walking to work just to feel my body move again. 3 weeks in, something unexpected arrived. A letter, not from him. From his ex. Handwritten on lined paper, folded tightly. No return address. Just my name, spelled right, and the city. The handwriting was his, not hers. She must have copied it from something old. I almost didn't open it. Inside, a brief note. "I left him too, 3 years before you. I saw him break you the way he broke me. I'm sorry I didn't warn you, but I'm glad you escaped. Be careful, he doesn't let go." A photo was tucked inside. Old. Him and her on a beach. He had the same grin, like he'd just said something clever. Her eyes were weary, like mine had been. I stared at the letter for hours. That night, I changed the locks. Called the landlord, paid extra for a security system. Stopped using my real name at the coffee shop. Because when someone thinks they own you, leaving feels like stealing. And I'd stolen something big. My silence, my absence, my life. A week later, I learned he was in town. I saw him through a bookstore window near work. Just his back. That untouchable stance. I ducked before he turned. I hadn't told anyone where I'd gone. Not colleagues, not social media, no forwarding address. So how did he know? That night, I checked my work email. In the spam folder, a message from an unknown address. No name, just, "You can run. But you still owe me." I forwarded it to my manager, called it a spam threat, and they tightened the office firewall. But I knew. He wasn't finished. Neither was I the next morning. I took a new route to work. Past a dog park I hadn't seen before. I walked a block past my building just in case. I'd never lived like this, always watching, always checking. That email lingered like a burn. I told no one. Not work, not the landlord, not the kind barista who smiled like we could be friends. I didn't know who to trust. I'd left clean, but he'd found a thread to tug. Then, another surprise, a key in the mail. No note, no sender, just a small silver key in a padded envelope. I tried the post office first. Nothing. Then public lockers at the library. No match. I nearly threw it out. But curiosity gnaws quietly, and by the weekend, I was checking everywhere. Bus stations, gyms, train depots, until I found it. A lockbox at a storage unit outside town. The key clicked open. Inside, a flash drive, just that. Small, plain, I almost left it. I should have, but I didn't. At home, I used an old laptop, slow to start like it resisted this too. The drive had one folder, my name. Inside, photos, screenshots, voicemails. Transcripts of messages I'd sent him over the years. Voice notes I'd forgotten, typed out verbatim. A spreadsheet labeled behavioral record. Dates, moods, a column for likely manipulation strategies. My heart sank, slow and heavy. He'd been tracking me, not out of love, not even obsession, like I was a case study for later use. At the bottom, a folder called Control Plan. Password locked. I yanked the drive out and drove to a lake. Threw it in, didn't watch it sink. That night, I booked a new apartment under a different name. Called in sick, told HR I needed a week for personal reasons. I packed again, not from fear but strategy. he'd come looking. But I was done running. I left a note for the landlord thanking them, no forwarding address, but I left something else. A small envelope taped under the sink. Inside, photos of him, old screenshots. A copy of his behavioral record. All printed, all documented, no threats, just evidence. Because people like him rely on silence, on shame. If he came back, someone else would know what they were seeing. I moved across town. Changed my hair. Took a job with fewer windows. And every morning, I lock the door, check the handle, and step into a life that's finally mine. If he finds me again, he won't meet the version he shattered. He'll meet the one I rebuilt, piece by piece. And this time I'll be ready. I'll be ready.